Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring a topic that, well, I think really hits home for many of us. It's about those changes we sometimes notice in memory, maybe mental sharpness, especially as we get older, past 60. And we're digging into this using some fascinating material a listener sent our way. It points to something surprisingly simple we might be missing.
That's right. The sources suggest the answer might not be some complex medical thing, but maybe simple habits.
Yeah.
Right before we sleep. And it draws inspiration from this really extraordinary doctor in Japan.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this then. Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what's really going on in the brain at night, that crucial work it does, and then uncover this practical ritual that could potentially make a real difference. It seems like a mix of modern science and, older wisdom, all seen through the lens of this remarkable Japanese doctor.
Okay.
So have you ever had those mornings where you wake up and your brain feels like it's still buffering? Or maybe those moments where you walk into a room and just blank on why you're there, or a name is right on the tip of your tongue, gone. It's so easy to just brush it off, right? Oh, I'm just getting older.
Oh, I go it.
But the ideas we're exploring today suggest it's not always just age. Often it might be how we end the day that really sets the stage for the next one.
That's exactly the point these sources emphasize. Those last minutes before sleep, say the final half hour, they're not just throwaway time. They're critically important for getting the brain ready for its nighttime job. It's like a window we often just waste. Or worse, actively disrupt without even knowing.
And the figure who really anchors this whole thing is Dr. Shigeaki Hinahara, described as a national treasure in Japan, which is quite something.
Yes, Dr. Hinahara. What's incredible is his longevity, but also his lucidity. He lived and practiced medicine actively for over a century, kept his sharp mind right up until near the end at 105. And his conviction, it seems, was that how we signal the end of the day really prepares the brain for that essential restoration and repair work during sleep.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because we usually think of sleep as just everything shuts down, right? Body rests, brain rests. But this material says, nope, that's not it at all.
Not at all. The brain doesn't just power down. It actually enters this phase of incredibly intense, vital activity. As we go through the sleep cycles, the brain is busy processing the day's events, experiences, information, even emotions. It's actively sorting, deciding what's important enough to keep, and starting to integrate it into our long-term memory. That's memory consolidation.
Turning the day's stuff into lasting knowledge.
Exactly. And there's also this crucial cleanup happening during deep sleep, and this is a phase that can get harder for older adults to reach consistently. The brain uses something called the glymphatic system. Think of it like the brain's dedicated sanitation crew.
Okay.
It flushes out metabolic waste, toxins, stuff that builds up just from being alive and thinking all day.
Yeah.
And these insights suggest that if this system isn't clearing out that residue effectively, night after night, that buildup is linked to cognitive decline, maybe even conditions like Alzheimer's.
Wow. So the brain's doing this heavy-duty cleaning and organizing, making memories, but it needs preparation. Why can't it just do it?
That's a really critical point in these sources. For the brain to really commit its resources to that deep repair and cleaning, it needs clear signals that everything is safe, calm, stable. It needs to switch off its high alert systems, essentially.
Oh, okay.
So if we go to bed stressed, or if the body feels deprived, maybe hungry, or the environment is still buzzing with light and sound, the brain can read that as potential danger.
Right. Like, is there a threat?
Precisely. And when the brain senses a potential threat, its priorities shift. Survival first. So instead of investing energy in cleaning, memorizing, repairing cells, it goes into conservation mode. It prioritizes immediate survival over that long-term regeneration stuff.
And that leads back to that foggy feeling or forgetting things. We feel off, blame age, but maybe it's the brain saying, hey, I didn't get what I needed last night to do my job properly.
Exactly that. And Dr. Hinahara's perspective through these sources suggests the brain needs 3 key things for this nighttime healing. 1, gentle nourishment. 2, emotional quiet. And 3, a really clear signal that the day, with its stresses and demands, is actually over. Without these, the nervous system might stay subtly on, even while we're asleep. This disrupts those deep sleep cycles. And over time, that erodes concentration, memory, even our emotional balance.
So it's way more than just flicking off the light switch. It's about consciously creating this environment inside and out that tells your brain, hey, you're safe, stand down, time to rebuild. Okay, that concept, signaling safety, is really powerful. So how do we actually do that? What does this night ritual involve, practically speaking, according to the sources?
Well, the underlying idea seems drawn from a Japanese tradition. Shinichino means mind and body as one. So the ritual cares for both.
Mind and body is one. I like that.
Yeah. And the steps are pretty straightforward, but intentional. First is the environment. There's about 30 minutes before you plan to sleep. Key thing is reducing stimulation. So screens off, TV, phone, computer. Swap out bright overhead lights for warm, soft light. A bedside lamp, maybe even a candle if that's safe for you. The main goal is avoiding that artificial blue light from devices. It messes with your natural melatonin production, which is the hormone that basically tells your body, okay, time for sleep. You're creating calm.
Right, dimming things down makes sense.
Then there's movement, just about 5 minutes, and this isn't like a workout, okay? It's gentle, conscious movement to release tension. Think slow neck rolls, shoulder circles, maybe gentle ankle rotations, or even a slight forward bend, knees soft, just to ease the lower back. It's about signaling unwind to your muscles.
Okay, just loosening up.
Exactly. Then breathing. Again, about 5 minutes. Conscious breathing is like a direct line to your nervous system, telling it to calm down. The sources mention the ERA technique. Breathe in deep through the nose, let your belly expand, then breathe out slowly through your mouth, making the exhale longer than the inhale. This activates the parasympathetic system that's your rest and digest mode. It lowers heart rate, cortisol, signals safety for repair.
That slow exhale really does feel calming. I've tried that.
It works. And finally, just before you properly settle in, a moment for the soul via gratitude. Take a minute, maybe jot down 3 things from the day, however small, that you genuinely feel grateful for.
Don't have to be huge achievements.
Not at all. A good cup of coffee, a nice chat, sunlight, finding your keys, anything. The sources suggest this actually improves sleep quality, reduces stress, and might even strengthen memory. It helps the brain end the day focusing on fullness, not problems.
Wow. Environment, movement, breathing, gratitude. Simple, but comprehensive. Now, you mentioned gentle nourishment earlier as one of Dr. Hinohara's key things. How does food fit into this pre-sleep picture?
Yeah, this is really interesting. The perspective here is that food, or rather a specific kind of intake before bed, especially after 60, isn't just about calories. It's another powerful signal. It tells the brain, you're safe. There are resources you can focus on healing now. You don't need to worry about scarcity.
Okay, so it's not just physical fuel, it's information for the brain.
Exactly. They use this analogy like closing down a theater gently after the show, not just cutting the power abruptly. The brain needs these gentle cues that the performance of the day is over. And a warm, easily digestible little something is seen as a potent signal of security.
And the logic is, going to bed completely empty might signal scarcity.
That's the idea. An empty stomach, especially if it's been many hours since eating, might inadvertently signal to an older part of the brain, resources might be scarce, maybe conserve energy. So it might hold back on the energy-intensive cleaning and memory work. A small, warm intake reassures it. All's well, nutrients are here. Proceed with repairs.
Okay, interesting. So what kind of soft nutrition are we talking about? Give me some examples from the sources.
Sure. It emphasizes things that are warm, gentle on the system, easy to digest, like a simple vegetable broth, maybe carrot, leek, celery, zucchini, fresh ingredients. Or warm herbal tea, maybe with a little honey. Could be a small piece of cooked white fish with a drizzle of olive oil. Or even just a soft-boiled egg with some steamed spinach. Things that are comforting and not demanding to digest.
And what should we definitely avoid?
Right, that's just as important. Avoid cold foods right before bed. Avoid sugary things, highly processed stuff. Definitely avoid caffeine. It keeps the brain buzzing when it needs to wind down. And alcohol is a tricky one. It might make you feel sleepy initially, but it actually disrupts those crucial deep sleep phases later in the night. So counterproductive for brain repair.
Got it. Any foods mentioned as particularly helpful?
Yes, foods rich in tryptophan, magnesium, and calcium are good because they help your body produce serotonin and melatonin, key players in sleep and memory. So things like that white fish, the boiled eggs we mentioned, maybe a few almonds, or warm plant-based milk like almond milk. Some sources even mention turmeric, maybe in a warm milk drink like golden milk for its soothing and anti-inflammatory properties.
Golden milk, yeah, I've heard of that.
And there's this emotional layer, too. The act of preparing this small thing calmly, maybe sipping it from a nice cup, sitting quietly. That's part of the ritual. It's a gesture of self-care. It tells your brain, your body, you deserve this calm nourishment. Repeating that builds a helpful rhythm.
This is fascinating. And the sources included a story, right, to illustrate this, about Don Manuel.
Yes, a really powerful anecdote about Don Manuel, a retired history teacher from Zaragoza, apparently known for his amazing memory. So after retiring, He followed that common advice, stop eating after 6 p.m., trying to manage weight and improve sleep.
Okay. Seems logical on the surface.
Right. But after a few months, he started noticing these little memory slips, forgetting names he knew well, misplacing things constantly, that why did I come in here feeling.
Oh, wow. That must have been really scary for him, especially being known for his memory.
Exactly. The turning point, the story goes, was waking up one night totally disoriented. He feared the worst, obviously. But he saw a doctor, one with some training in Oriental medicine, who didn't just look at symptoms, but asked about his whole routine, especially before bed.
And the diagnosis wasn't what he feared.
No. The insight was that it wasn't dementia starting, but signs of chronic fatigue and reduced concentration. The core issue identified wasn't his age per se, but that cutting off all food after 6 p.m., especially being over 60, was leaving his brain without the readily available fuel it needed for its critical night shift.
So the engine was running out of gas overnight, basically.
That's a good way to put it. And the prescription was incredibly simple, rooted right in this ritual we've been discussing. A warm vegetable broth before bed. A few minutes of gentle stretching. 5 minutes of that slow, conscious breathing. And writing down 3 things he was grateful for.
The whole package. And did it work?
The results described are pretty remarkable. Within days, his wife noticed his mood improving. Within a week, he was recalling names better. And within about 2 weeks, he reportedly felt his mind had switched back on. He was reading complex history books again with his old enthusiasm.
That's incredible, just from those simple changes.
It really highlights the point, doesn't it? It wasn't some miracle drug. It was reintroducing these small, intentional acts. That broth wasn't just food, it was a signal. Calm down, all is well, time to repair.
It's a great story. And it sounds like Dr. Hanahara himself embodied this kind of mindful living beyond just this ritual. The sources give a bigger picture, right?
Sure, absolutely. His life was extraordinary, working actively, as we said, until just months before passing at 105. He even survived a plane hijacking back in 1970. Imagine how that might shape your view on stress, life, resilience.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And even in his late 80s, he wasn't slowing down. He wrote the script for a children's musical and danced in it. Shows his love for creativity, for joy. He
Amazing.
wrote best-selling books, appeared on TV, always encouraging people to have fun, look forward to things, not get bogged down by rigid rules about eating or sleeping.
Yeah.
He pointed to kids how they forget time when they're playing. He said we should keep that spirit. Plus, practical stuff like, take the stairs, carry your own bags, stay active in daily life.
Sounds like very grounded advice.
And his contributions to healthcare in Japan were huge. He introduced those comprehensive annual checkups back in the 50s, the human dry dock, often credited with helping Japan's longevity. He really pushed for maintaining social connections in old age, and his foresight as a hospital director, putting in oxygen lines everywhere, saved lives during the Tokyo sarin gas attack. Just incredible planning.
His energy sounds unbelievable, working 18-hour days in his 90s.
Apparently so. His core belief seemed to be about contribution, always having goals for today, tomorrow, the future. People said meeting him was transformative.
So bringing this all together, the big takeaway from this deep dive, guided by these sources and Dr. Hinahara's example, it seems to be this. Taking care of your mind, especially as the years go by, maybe isn't about finding some complicated magic bullet. It might be more about these simple, deliberate actions at the end of the day, creating the right conditions for your brain to do its essential overnight work.
Exactly. To just recap those core elements we found in the sources. Create that calm environment. Do some gentle movement. Practice that conscious breathing. Find a moment for gratitude and offer yourself some gentle, warm nourishment.
They don't sound like huge sacrifices, do they? More like consistent, kind gestures towards yourself and specifically towards your brain, giving it the support it needs to stay sharp. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into this connection between evening habits and cognitive health, all sparked by these listener sources and the amazing life of Dr. Hinahara. It's really eye-opening, I think, to understand just how much work our brain is doing while we sleep, and empowering to know that simple actions can really support it.
And maybe here's a final thought, something to mull over, drawing from that core message. Memory doesn't just fade because of age. Perhaps it fades more from neglect. So what's one small, intentional thing you could maybe try adding to your evening tonight to consciously nourish your mind?
A great question to end on. Thank you again to the listener who sent in the sources that led to this really valuable discussion. We hope these ideas give you something useful to consider.